Hello again, traders, and welcome back to the Hot Stocks Outlook for April 26, 2024. Hope y'all are having an excellent week out there in the financial markets. As always, we're going to take a look at the most recent VantagePoint predictive forecast. So if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click on that link in the description below. You can sign up and get yourself a live demonstration so that you can learn all the specifics about how this technology can help you make better trading decisions in the marketplace. Now, as we typically do, we take a look at the SPY ETF. And so what we can see here is that what we've really been talking about here is that we've seen some sideways price action. So we can see when we look at this month number, we're down about 3%. We had a little bit of a bounce midweek this week, but we still need to be especially careful out there. And this is where VantagePoint can really help you identify the sectors and individual markets that are safer to trade, right? And so here are year-to-date numbers still up about 6.5%. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of these different opportunities throughout the marketplace, and of course, highlight how VantagePoint's predictive forecasts work here. So I thought a good example here is Lockheed Martin. So we actually took a look at Raytheon a couple of weeks ago. Again, we're seeing a lot of pressure on the market. So there's not a lot of places where we have really bullish price action here. But of course, we want to see how these things evolve and shift. But Lockheed here is a really good example to learn about how all of these predictive indicators work together. So what you're seeing here is daily price action, right? So each one of the candles on the screen, that represents a full and complete trading day. And it's right up against that price data that what you're going to notice is there is a black line and a blue line value. Now, the black line value there is actually a simple moving average. This is a very common technical indicator. In this case, it's just a 10-period simple moving average. So it'll look back at the previous 10 closes, add those all together, and then divide by 10. And so what that does is it really acts as a baseline, right? Letting us know where market prices have been. But the weakness with technical analysis like this is really twofold. Well, one is that it's all rearward looking, right? It just looks at the most recent close prices and doesn't have any predictive data. And two, it only looks at one market in isolation. In this case, the close prices of Lockheed Martin. So it's always just going to be dragging around and just updating what's already occurred in the marketplace. And so what VantagePoint traders are able to do is actually compare that lagging simple moving average to this proprietary predicted moving average. And essentially for this value to get calculated and plotted every evening for the trader, well, this is where that technology of artificial neural networks come into play, and they're performing what we would call intermarket analysis. And so what that means is that these neural networks are able to identify known market relationships, right? Markets that affect and drive the future price of Lockheed Martin. So this is things like, those SPY ETFs, right? Those big index ETFs. That can be other ETF groups focused on a particular sector. This can be individual stocks, but it also is able to look at things like global currencies and global interest rates, as well as global commodities, which we've seen, oil and gold putting a lot of pressure on certain stocks in the markets and resulting in some big moves here. So this is what the technology is really doing behind the scenes to generate highly accurate predictive forecasts. So whenever we see this blue line cross above the black line, what's happening is those intermarket relationships are skewing this more and more bullish so that we get a bullish signal here. And whenever that blue line crosses above the black line, well, we'd expect prices to start moving higher. And so just as a general area of the market, well, we understand that, okay, well, there's some strength here. We've got some decent forecasts. It's only up about 2.5%. And this, again, gets to this point of there's not a lot of markets aggressively moving higher here. But we do see some, that are really getting punished with some of the weakness here. But here with Lockheed, you get about a 2.5% rally. But what I want to do is highlight some of these other indicators. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you see this bar that goes from green to red, back to green. And this is also utilizing that neural network technology, but it's tuned to solve a different problem here. And in this example, we can see that quite clearly. And what it's doing is looking for short-term strength or weakness just over the next 48-hour period. So you can think of it as when it's bullish here, well, it's looking at these candles, bullish here, it's looking at these. And so it's always looking ahead and updating to help traders anticipate that short-term price action. So you'll notice here as the neural index goes bearish, we get a couple of days where we're moving below that predicted moving average. We're seeing some general weakness, but we can really round this out with VantagePoint's predicted highs and lows. So if we're trying to determine, okay, well, where can we accept prices intraday? This is good for setting limits or stop losses or whatever your trading approach calls for. But here you see we get this move down to the predicted low, again moving down to these predicted lows, moving up towards the predicted highs. In many ways running sideways here, but there's still opportunity for the trader, buy a little, have the market move higher and, of course, take some of those profits if you're trading over the short term. So again, we're in a really interesting spot because you've seen the indexes pull so much lower, and that's dragging down a lot of stocks. And the things that are moving higher are grinding higher, and we can see them in uptrend. And if we start to get some escape velocity, right, maybe we'll see some of these trends break out. But I think we want to be pretty cautious, and that's why we've been highlighting some of these hedges and weak positions in the market. Here's Duke Energy, and I just wanted to highlight that utilities as a group seeing a lot of strength here. So here you see the predicted moving average move above the actual moving average. And you'll notice the neural index has just remained bullish here the entire time. So as we look again, in this being somewhat conservative area of the market here, but if we look towards those tools from VantagePoint, right, those every day you're provided these predicted high and predicted low ranges before the trading day occurs. So when you understand that, okay, well, something's going on in utilities, maybe you want to look over here. A lot of utility stocks had this similar, price action where we move lower, start to see that advance. And again, in a market where we're seeing a lot of mixed messaging here. So Duke Energy, seeing a nice little start to the move here overall, just about a 2 or 3% pop in the stock. But again, just utilities as a overall group, you're actually seeing some interest in some buying there. Here's Waste Management, so sort of in the same vein, somewhat sort of boring stocks. We're not talking about the high-flying tech stocks here, but Waste Management, you have that blue line crossing above the black line. Neural index, very, very bullish here. And again, just to fine-tune these very short-term predictive indicators like the predicted highs and lows, you see how this works. We may not get hit every single day, but you're getting an overall very good fill here. You see as we move down to this predicted low once again, and we get those moves towards the predicted high as you see these uptrends begin to take a little bit of a hold here. So here in Waste Management, a little bit better of a move here, about 2.5%. Again, this is very early here, right? This is just stuff that really has come through this week. When we look at the VantagePoint forecast, this is now Monday here, right? So we would have gotten this Monday night and now saying, okay, well, Waste Management, maybe this week, this is a better place to go ahead and be. Same thing here with Duke, right? We're getting this crossover Monday, having really being Friday, having the whole week to recognize, okay, something's going on in these utility stocks. Maybe we can go ahead and do some trading over here. And so what I want to do is really pivot here and highlight many of the opportunities that we've highlighted some bearishness here. And so one of the stories here really at the same time was TripAdvisor. So if you look over the previous, hot stocks outlooks, really highlight that that's really where the pivot of the market took hold, right? Where the S&P and Qs and all these indexes turned lower and it started dragging stocks lower. Well, it's very similar here in American Eagle, where we get that blue line crossing below the black line, a little blip here with the neural index where you get a little bit of a gap in the price action. But overall, the overall trend very much bearish until you see recently, we get this blue line crossing above the black line. So overall, this move, you got about a 9 or 10% decline just over the past 14 trading days. And so these are the areas where it really makes a lot of sense over the past couple of weeks is hedge, right? Get some bearish positions in the portfolio. You can still stay long where the VantagePoint forecasts are bullish, but we really want to stay careful here in particular stocks. And so here you see about a 9% decline. Last week, we took a look at Nucor, so we'll go ahead and revisit that. But here's Cleveland-Cliffs. So steel stocks, just as a group, another area along with some of these retail and restaurant stocks where you see a lot of weakness here. And so here in Cleveland-Cliffs, we see that blue line crossing below the black line. Your neural index pops up bullish here, and you see you do run a little bit sideways there, but pretty quickly you're getting down bearish and seeing that momentum heat up again. And so we got earnings right in the middle of this, but we can look again at these predictive highs and lows and the guidance that you're getting. It says, okay, well, if you want to be short, try to short up near these predicted highs. And you see you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 or 6 entries on the bullish side there, and immediately seeing that downtrend continue to take hold here. So pretty nice move on the bearish side here for Cliffs, and again, really just the broader steel stocks as a group. We've seen them all turn lower. So whether it's Cliffs, Nucor, Steel Dynamics, X, US Steel, right? 18% decline in the past 12 trading days. And this is exactly what we're talking about here, right? Is seeing this weakness come into the market, identifying where it's coming into the market. And that's where we're seeing really the biggest moves play out when it comes to individual stocks, right? So you see some of these utility stocks and things grinding higher, 1 or 2% at a time. But these steel stocks down about 20, in just a couple of weeks here. Here's Nucor. So this again was just a stock we looked at last week. And same thing, right? Blue line crossing below the black line. You've identified an area of weakness, and then you get that catalyst of earnings that just really drives it down and again, can advance that portfolio if you've got some of this positioning involved. So here we see Nucor shares off about 12.5% in just the past 11 trading days. So really important things that you want to be aware of. Make sure you're not situated in some of these stocks where we see the VantagePoint predictive forecast getting quite bearish, and of course seeing that subsequent weakness play out here. So again, pretty interesting period. We're sort of in the mix, seeing certain sectors do well, certain sectors do poorly, and that creating just really a mess on the index side of things when we look at that SPY and Qs and Russell 2000. So we'll go ahead and leave it there for today. But once again, this has been our Hot Stocks Outlook for April 26, 2024. Thank you all for watching. Best of luck and bye for now.